Good morning, good morning. It's 21 News Chief Meteorologist Eric Wilhelm here on this Tuesday morning, the 7th day of April. It promises to be an interesting weather day across the valley, maybe more so an interesting weather night tonight. We've got some storm threats to talk about, so let's get right to it this morning and show you what's going on. It's going to rain for a while this morning. We have a warm front that is slowly inching through Ohio and western PA this morning. This first round of wet weather is not accompanied by any thunder and lightning here locally. There's been some lightning down towards Columbus this morning. This is pretty much just innocuous showers across northern Ohio, where the atmosphere is a little more stable this morning. So we are going to get wet, it looks like, for a handful of hours this morning through the midday hours for today. Zooming back out and taking a look at kind of the larger picture here, we have a couple of disturbances that are going to be cascading south and east through the Great Lakes today, and taking advantage of the kind of the instability that is present, especially south of this warm front. And I'm expecting a few rounds of showers and storms across the region today. I wanted to show you the day one severe weather outlook. This is from the Storm Prediction Center, part of the National Weather Service out in Oklahoma, and they have an area highlighted that includes just about all of Ohio and a good chunk of western PA. It's in this yellow color, which means it's the slight risk of severe weather. If you think of this as a kind of a 1 to 5 scale, this is basically a 2 out of 5. So it definitely is something that gets our attention, but there's a lot more nuance to this than just looking at this map and saying, oh, severe weather all over the place today with all this yellow around. There's going to be a few rounds in the region, and some places the severe weather may be a little more likely this afternoon than tonight, but for our region, I think it's more likely going to be tonight. What I want to do is actually break this down by risk category. This is a look at the chance of a tornado within 25 miles in any location today and tonight. It's a 2% contour in this green, so anywhere within this green shading, that means there's a 2% risk of a tornado within 25 miles of any point. That does not seem very high, right? 2%, that's a pretty low number, but that's still well above what is average for just a typical day. So it's not a 0% chance of an isolated tornado across our region today. The bigger risks are going to be wind and hail as well. In fact, the hail risk appears to be increasing across much of the region. This is a look at the risk of sizable hail, not just pea-size hail, but the kind of hail that is a kind of a bigger deal. And as you can see, a lot of Ohio, almost the entire state, outlined by this 5%, even 10% contour in some places. The hail risk may be largest this afternoon to our south, down across southeast Ohio and south of I-70. But even for us, with our severe weather risk increasing tonight, I do think that the hail risk will accompany that. And here's a look at the risk of damaging wind gusts. Kind of the same idea here. A lot of Ohio kind of in the same boat. 15% chance of a damaging wind gust within 25 miles of any location. So let's break down the timing on this. Let's look at the latest hourly high resolution model. This is a model that's updated every hour and kind of takes into account what's going on currently. New information is ingested into this model every hour. And in situations like this, sometimes it can overcook the thunderstorms, if you will, and show things exploding a little bit too rapidly and be too aggressive, but sometimes it does pretty well. It's kind of underplaying the rain a little bit this morning. The coverage on the rain's a little higher than the model is showing this morning, but the general idea here is we get some showers this morning, and that kind of stabilizes our atmosphere for a lot of the daylight hours today. Now, this afternoon, thunderstorms may regenerate, but I kind of suspect it's going to be mostly to our south. A bigger risk of afternoon convection, especially south of Dover, New Philly, down towards Zanesville, Cambridge, and down into Parkersburg, Marietta. I can't rule out additional spotty showers and small chance of thunder here, but I kind of suspect this afternoon's risk of heavier storms is primarily a miss to the south for us, because I think our atmosphere is just going to be a little bit too stable. Thanks to this morning's rain and thanks to a layer of warmer air aloft, kind of capping the atmosphere a little bit, preventing air parcels from rising too quickly. So this is something we'll keep an eye on. The potential for afternoon stuff, but as it looks right now, as of 8 o'clock this morning, that risk appears to be highest off to our south. Then, for us, the risk waits until pretty late tonight, maybe even after midnight. This is a look at the current timing with a cluster of thunderstorms on our model here, this is midnight, and it's not even truly here yet. So if this timing is to be believed, and there's decent model agreement on this right now, this is where our severe weather threat is most likely coming from, with this band coming through tonight. And it may take until 11 o'clock midnight or 1 a.m. for this to roll on through. So again, our highest risk, I think, is going to be, very, very late today and into tonight. So I've adjusted our clock times a little bit here. I just showed you that squall line perhaps coming through around midnight or so. But, we'll keep things kind of broad right now and say between 9 p.m. and 2 a.m. is when our highest risk of severe weather may be across our region, with wind damage and hail, along with a low-end chance, but not zero, of an isolated tornado. So that's another way of looking at this. The risk categories, wind and hail are primary threats. Don't want to rule out an isolated tornado, although that risk is quite a bit lower than the other risks. So a lot to keep track of over the next 12 to 16 or 17 hours. Of course, I'll have you covered on social media, the Storm Tracker 21 app, and on 21 News this evening at 6 and 11. Be sure to check out Andrew's updates this morning and early this afternoon on 21 News midday. Have a great rest of your Tuesday.